Messi sur son pied gauche, il y a un bon coup à jouer pour les Parisiens. Messi qui va s'appuyer sur Mbappé. Messi, Léo Messi, l'éclair du génie est arrivé. Léo Messi.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of PSG Talking. I'm your host, Ed, and let me begin by saying Happy New Year to all of you out there listening. Hopefully, this will be a year unlike any in PSG's history, where we can finally win the Champions League. Before we get to that, though, we need to discuss PSG's somewhat rocky return to Ligue 1 action and an impressive showing by the youngsters in the Coupe de France. Here to help me break it all down, once again, is Ethan from PSG Fan Club Boise. Ethan, Happy New Year. How was your holiday break?
Hey, thanks, man. It was good. Didn't do a lot, just stayed at home, hung out with family and friends. But yeah, good. Actually, my girl, she got me I think it's the 2005-2006 away kit. It's that chocolate Louis Vuitton inspired one. So that was my favorite Christmas gift that I've probably ever got, because I know those things are like collector's items. But yeah, it was good for me. How'd it go for you?
Yeah, pretty good. No PSG kits, unfortunately. I think my wife said I have too many in the closet, so pretty low key with the kids here, and just enjoyed seeing them open up presents. So, I'm getting old now. It's all about the giving part. So, yeah, we had a good time here. Got a little snow. Hopefully you guys did up there in Idaho. But yeah, it's been a good break. I think the last time we talked was midway through the World Cup. So we're not going to talk too much about the World Cup, but just any thoughts on Messi winning it over Mbappé, that final game that everyone was just raving about? Just any quick thoughts about that before we get going here?
Yeah, I guess quick thoughts is I'm not French. I'm French American. My family comes from France way back in the day, but I tried to not be too invested, just because if France had lost, I didn't want to be super, super bummed. But man, that was a crazy final, and I was pretty disappointed after that. But yeah, obviously our two Parisians did great in that match, and someone had to win it, and just barely on penalties. It was Messi, but yeah, honestly, phenomenal World Cup for both of them.
Phenomenal World Cup, and really just a testament to PSG. It seemed like every player that was just popping. We're here in the United States, and if you watch Pardon the Interruption or any of those ESPN shows, they're talking all about Mbappe and Messi, and some of them were like shocked. They're like, wait, they play on the same team at PSG? And I heard one pundit here was like, do they just win the Champions League every year? And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. Even though you have two of the best players in the world, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So, yeah, it was a good World Cup for PSG as a whole, and congrats to Messi and Argentina. It was a phenomenal final. But since that World Cup has ended, PSG's played in 2 Ligue 1 matches, 1 Coupe de France. Overall, Ethan, how would you assess PSG's return to action following that World Cup?
I'd say it's been decent, probably about as expected. We'll talk about it more in a bit, but the Lens game I knew was going to be tough, and being out so many players and just coming back, I know Lens didn't have a bunch, nearly as many guys that they sent to the World Cup as we did, so they had extra time to recover and kind of what's the word? I don't know, just they weren't getting bogged down by the World Cup. They had time to train together. I'm sure they were looking forward to that one. So, yeah, they played real well, but honestly decent, but not great. I think right now, I think I said this on Twitter about a couple weeks ago, but right now it's all about just getting the results. We're not going to play well right now. We've got until February 14th to start playing really well. So the next month is going to just be about shaking off rust, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shaking off rust, but there's overall, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's about as good as we would have expected. I was a little bit surprised to see Mbappe came back for that first game. I thought maybe he would get a little bit of a break, but no. Messi has been on a break. I think Mbappe, if I'm not mistaken, was allowed to come to the United States and do some sightseeing, have a little break. So, yeah, I think it's about as good as we could expect. It's kind of like that weird – it's almost like preseason right now, and we're just kind of finding – our footing right now, and we've made some mistakes. The loss at Lens, which Yeah, they were definitely waiting for PSG. That place was going nuts when they were scoring goals against us. I mean, they were fired up for that. That was their Champions League final there. So, don't feel too bad about losing that game. It was always going to be tough. But let's just get into these fixtures. So, the win over Strasbourg couldn't have been any closer. 2-1 to PSG. Marquinhos scored a goal for both sides. He had an own goal and a goal himself. And then Mbappé secured the win with a late penalty in stoppage time. So my first question is, like, for Marquinhos, and maybe I've asked you this before, but like, are we getting more and more concerned about Marquinhos? He's just been like really inconsistent since last season against Real Madrid. Is it time to like really start wondering what might be going on with him? It's almost seemed like Presnel Kimpembe, who like was really great, and now he's come back to earth and he's super inconsistent. Is this just a way that PSG is set up to be really attack heavy, and it's sort of putting a lot of pressure on that defense, or something going on with Marquinhos that you're seeing? And any thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we know that we've always, the past 10, 12 years, always been buying the superstars as far as the attack. We've had Zlatan, Cavani, and now we've got Eminem. But I would say the heavy focus on the attack definitely is taken away from the midfield and the defense. And I would say Marquinhos, I am getting a bit worried about him. You could say that he's one of the unluckiest players ever, just with the Champions League mistakes that he's had in the past couple years. Some of those he didn't even do bad. It's just it kind of falls the wrong way, and but it is concerning that it's happened so many times. What's that phrase? Like something like once is an anomaly, and then twice or more is a pattern, and it's kind of becoming a pattern. And I think you're right. Just our center backs. It seems like we can never have two of them really just on it at the same time. I'd even say Sergio Ramos has been a bit rusty the past couple months, but yeah, it's tough with Marquinhos. Although I will say he kind of got robbed of that goal at the end. The referee Clément Turpin, we all love him. But he took that goal away from Marquinhos and then basically forced Mbappé to make a penalty, even though Marquinhos had already bagged the winner. So I kind of was hoping that it would be a Marquinhos hat trick, although one of them would have been for Strasbourg. But he kind of got screwed on that. But I would agree, he's getting less and less reliable, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm thinking he's the new Thiago Silva. It's just, whether it's with the national team or at PSG, it's just, my goodness, you love the guys, but they just have been on the wrong end of so many just terrible, awful results. And the quality is there, but they just have no luck at all. And so I don't know what's going on with Marquinhos. I think, he's not your typical center back, is he? He's sort of slight of frame. He's not the biggest guy. And I don't know, maybe he's not as fast to keep up with some of the attackers that have been scoring on him. And so I don't know. We saw, Tuchel moved him as a defensive midfielder. Maybe that's really where he should be. Maybe that's a position that Gaultier could move him and try him out. I thought he played really well there. Tuchel went on and won a Champions League, so I think he knows what he's doing. Maybe we move him around a little bit, but the problem with that is PSG don't have a ton of depth when it comes to center back, so it's kind of like we're kind of stuck playing with Marquinhos there, and just kind of have to live with those mistakes. Moving on in that Strasbourg match, Neymar sent off, diving, second yellow, he was sent off. You mentioned our friend there, Turpin, is the official. What did you think about that, Neymar being sent off? Hard done, well-deserved? What do you think?
I would say the second yellow, he definitely dove, and that was definitely yellow-worthy. But the foul just a minute or two before should never have been a yellow. I don't know what Turpin was thinking. Just go back and look at that. Neymar had been sort of hit in a very similar way, not 2 minutes before that, and I'm not even sure Turpin called a foul. And then as soon as Neymar does pretty much the same thing, he gets a yellow for it. So I just feel like the consistency from officiating wasn't there. I also saw a stat that game where I think Strasbourg had 13 or 14 fouls, and they only had one yellow. I think we only had we had something like 5 fouls the whole game, and 4 of them were cards. So it's just, yeah, it was kind of shambolic officiating, I think. But we got the win. That's all that matters. But yeah, Neymar's got to be. Just about the diving. I feel like maybe right now, which is understandable, he, kind of got put through the ringer for not winning the World Cup, even though he did nothing really at fault. I mean, he was out for a lot of the group stage, but I would not say that he was detrimental to Brazil at all. Obviously, I think he played real well, and he was just unfortunate to have his teammates not play well in defense, and then the penalty shootout went against him. But I just think his head maybe isn't there right now. He's probably just real. I think we've seen, and not that this is a bad thing, but I think he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I think that just kind of got the best of him there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is a case where I see what he's trying to do, gamesmanship, whatever you want to call it, but Neymar has the reputation of going down easy. I think Gaultier just needs to go to him, and unless you feel contact, unless someone is actually hitting you, don't go down in the box. It's more than likely going to go against you. We have VAR now. Like, you really can't deceive people anymore in the game. I mean, you can try some, maybe get away with it, but again, Neymar, it's very unlikely he's going to get away with anything. I would just say, unless you're actually hit, don't go down. Just stay up, play on, and see what happens from there. Loads of quality. You should be able to convert that. Stay on your feet. If nothing else, you'll gain hopefully a little bit more respect from non-PSG fans who just see you as always diving. I just think for his brand in PSG, what he did there probably wasn't great. So, I would just tell him, don't go down unless someone actually touches you. So, but prior to the Strasbourg match, a little bit off the field news was made. I somewhat surprisingly, I wasn't as dialed in. We were, right around the holidays there. But I saw PSG announced that Marco Verratti had signed a contract extension through 2026. He's obviously PSG's best midfielder, and I would say probably one of the best in Europe. What does it say for PSG that Mbappé, Verratti, Neymar, and likely Messi, we'll have to see, but all of them have signed contracts to extend their stay in Paris? A lot of people see PSG as this club that people just get paid and they don't really care and all that, but these very good players, world-class players in their prime are choosing to stay at PSG. So what does that say for the club?
I would say that means you got to believe in the sporting project if you're going to extend, especially that's it's probably entirely why. Well, he also got a nice pay raise. Us in Madrid were bidding a lot of money, salary-wise for his extension. But you got to believe in the sporting project to stay, especially at a club like PSG, where it's, kind of like the Bundesliga. It's basically a one-club league most years. That PSG are almost always going to win Liga. Same as how Bayern's always going to win the Bundesliga. But the fact that we're able to lock in these guys, Verratti loves the club. I think he's even maybe a French citizen now, and they've bought into what Campos is doing. And Nasser's always been, from what I understand, Nasser's always been a really good, advocate for the players, and he's always kind of got their back with stuff. He can be, Nasser's got his flaws as well, of course, like anyone does, but. They bought into the sporting project, and a lot of those guys, I know they're dying to, they want to be able to say at the end of their careers, I was a starter, I was a contributor to that first Champions League in Paris. So I would say that's the driver, and the club is obviously there's still a lot of dead weight from the Leonardo days, but the club is moving in the right direction, and these kind of guys, they wouldn't stay if they didn't think it was doing so.
And I know I've probably beaten a dead horse with this, but I always say being part of PSG, bringing their first Champions League, is more impressive than anything. Verratti went to Manchester United. They've won everything. Okay, great. Maybe you win a Premier League title or Champions League, but they've got a trophy case full of those. At PSG, you're really working towards something that has never been done, and that's winning a Champions League. And I just think that would be fantastic if you can be a part of that journey. Verratti's been here, my goodness, almost since the beginning of the QSI era. I mean, he's a special player. We've seen him grow up to now being one of the best midfielders in Europe, as I stated before. But I think overall, with Mbappe staying and Neymar, I think you also have to look at the quality of life living in Paris. You could go, I mentioned Manchester United, but we know how Angel Di Maria, how much he enjoyed living there. I think a lot of footballers, they can make a lot of money anywhere. They can win trophies once you're at that level. At pretty much any club that would want you, you could win something, whether it's a league trophy or the Champions League, anything like that. But I think players want to be in a place where they're happy, where it feels like home, that has lots of opportunities for them, maybe off the pitch. And what better place than Paris? It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And so I think a lot of these guys come in here and they're like, wait, I can make money, I can win titles, and I live in a beautiful city, and I have all these opportunities, and Paris Fashion Week and all that. We've seen the players enjoy that. So I think that also plays a role in players when they get here wanting to stay. Any truth to that, do you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you just think that players will look to sign for a club because, it's just a sporting project and I want to win, this and that trophy, it's obviously way more than that. It's just the same way in the U.S. You hear guys decline to extend with teams that they're on, and they either stay in the city where they're at or they move. And a lot of it is because they're like, I want to put my kids in this certain school, or like you were saying with Di Maria, his wife hated Manchester, and so they got out of there pretty quick. The quality of life definitely does make a huge difference on where guys want to play and where they want to spend their career. Yeah, it's not just what's the squad look like. That is it. Obviously, it's the biggest part of it, but I bet it's probably not even half of the entire picture for a lot of guys.
For sure. Yeah, we've seen, in the NBA, players want to go to Los Angeles or Miami, and we forget these guys are in their early 20s, millions and millions of dollars. A lot of them are single. If that were me, I know I would want to be in Paris, that's for sure. Looking around Europe where you could go, London would be fun, of course. And but yeah, it's hard to beat Paris. So moving on, Ethan, we'll go back on the pitch. So we'll move on to the loss to Lens, 3-1 defeat. I thought PSG fielded a pretty decent starting lineup here. I'm just looking at it. Ekitike was out there, Mbappe, Verratti, Hakimi were all out there, Marquinhos and Ramos, Donnarumma. So pretty solid starting 11. What concerns you the most about that match?
That's a good question. I feel like this is pretty hit or miss, but our finishing was not very clinical. We had a good amount of chances. If we were really up to the task, that game could have ended 3-3, but we just kind of didn't convert. And it's just whenever we kind of had steam, whenever we were kind of making up ground and the game was starting to move into our favor, Frank Hayes over at Lens, their manager, and the team, they just played so. I know they just kind of snuffed out whatever we were ever trying to do. And I know Seko Fofana, I wanted PSG to sign him last year, but he was super good for them. Probably man of the match for me. I know Openda got a goal and an assist for them, but I strongly believe that matches are typically won in the midfield, and he was just better than Verratti that day, and he almost outplayed all of our midfielders by himself. Tough loss. I kind of equate it similar to if you watch the Villarreal Real Madrid match today. We're doing this on Saturday, and it was sort of the same thing. Villarreal just came out super strong. You could tell they had been waiting for that match, and Real Madrid fielded a very strong lineup as well, but they kind of just played right into Villarreal's strengths. Villarreal was clinical, kind of just the same thing here. Lens, they took their chances when they had them. They seemed to not tire they were pressing. They'd go some windows where they weren't pressing like crazy, but they pressed very high and frequently throughout the whole match, and they honestly never seemed to get tired. So it's super tough when we're coming off. We're not totally match fit, all the guys, and trying to pass through a crazy good press like that. It was just a little too much. So.
Yeah, we mentioned at the start of the show that, I mean, just Lens and their fans were just waiting for PSG to go in there. It was a cauldron of noise. I mean, those fans were just fired up. You mentioned Fofana. Still don't know why PSG didn't sign him. We need help in the midfield. He was there for the taking, and we just kind of left him there. And he came back and just bossed the midfield there. I always thought over at Lens, Claude Maurice, he's on loan from Nice, I believe. He's a player I've always rated. He got on the score sheet there. It just was a case of PSG kind of going in there, and their manager just had it all figured out. And PSG were just second best on that night. You mentioned we had our chances. I think I'm looking at the stats here, 6 total shots on target, but 16 shots in all. So PSG were plenty more shots. They had more possession, more passes, better pass accuracy. But Lens, just looking at the stat, they had 16 fouls. So they were definitely, getting physical with PSG. We know what can happen for PSG when that happens. I think for me, to answer my own question, is what bothers me the most is this was, while not a Champions League quality opponent, it was that sort of atmosphere. And again, PSG did have a really good starting lineup. This wasn't like what we saw against Châteauroux. PSG came out there and just looked lost. Every time I looked up, Marquinhos was just sprinting, trying to catch one of their attackers who were just clear on goal. We were getting beat on set pieces. Donnarumma looked a little bit shaky. This is just, I would say that this was like a really good test. Let's also not forget that Lens right now are sitting only 4 points behind PSG in the Ligue 1 table. So this is a really good team. Again, not Champions League quality, but on the road against a really solid opponent. I'm a little bit concerned that we didn't show up a little bit better than this. 3-1 is disappointing. We did have our chances, but these are games that PSG either have to win or look really good and maybe just, lose by a goal, and unfortunate mistake or whatever. But I just expected more from PSG in this game. This was a really good test, and unfortunate to go down. And we've got a race in France. Marseille are in third, not too far behind. But yeah, PSG and Lens for the title here. You think we'll have a title race going in the second half of the season?
I think we'll probably win. Not as comfortable as usual. I know we typically win by like 10, 12 points every season in the seasons we do win. But I suspect at the end of the day, we'll probably win by, I don't know, we'll probably win with like two games to spare or something like that. But my issue is with Lens' squad is, you said they're not Champions League quality, although that's a fair point, but like they'll be in the Champions League next year, obviously, once they finish second, I'm assuming. I don't think Marseille's going to catch up to them. I mean, Marseille didn't even look good in their last match. Who they played in the league? I forget who they played last week.
Hey, I'm fine if Marseille don't make it. That's fine. Looks like they played.
Yeah,
they were in the French Cup against Jerez.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was
they won
today.
2-0.
Yeah,
or today, yeah, Montpellier. They won.
It was
2.
Montpellier. Yeah, they didn't even look that good against Montpellier, but Lens will finish second almost certainly. And my issue is that, like Lille in the past, like Monaco in the past, they're going to make the Champions League. They're going to sell their 3 most valuable players, and then they're going to put up a stinker in Europe. That's obviously the huge issue with Ligue 1 is, it's the league's getting better. The financial stability is finally kind of getting there where teams don't have to be selling clubs all the time just to stay alive. But they'll probably just sell off their best players, probably finish last in their Champions League group, just behind third, and kind of like Marseille this year. Although they weren't coming off like a title-winning season or anything. They don't win trophies anymore, but yeah, it's just it's kind of a bummer that I'm hoping Lens can hold on to their guys. I'm hoping we need a couple good teams in like consistent teams in Europe every year that kind of show up. And it was Lyon for a while. Obviously, they made that Champions League semifinal a couple years ago, the year that we made the final. But
right,
like I said, it's just the consistency's not there with these clubs. So obviously, I hope they don't beat us to the title, but I hope they give us a good fight. Kind of make us work for it a bit, and then I hope next year I hope they get out of the group in the Champions League. That would be super nice for France.
Yeah, help that coefficient. And friend of the podcast, Jonathan Johnson, I know is always wanting Lens to do well and back when they were in the second division there. And they, as we saw with the fans, I mean, they are well supported, rabid fan base. They really get behind their team. So yeah, I would love for them to stay up there, be consistent, hold on to some of their players. Other than Fofana, I'll take them at PSG. But they are a really solid team, because we've seen some other teams, Bordeaux and some other teams that are typically in the upper echelon of the French league kind of dip down. So hopefully they can stay up. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. But in that match against Lens, Ekitike was the only one who got on the score sheet. He also scored against Châteauroux on Friday in the Coupe de France and PSG's win over them. So for you, Ethan, has the youngster earned more playing time, whether it's Champions League or Ligue 1 or whatever? Do you think he's earned that? Do you think he can fit somewhere in, especially if Messi's not ready to come back yet, or you maybe move him on the wing? Do you think Gaultier can get creative? Because this is a player that I really, really like what I'm seeing. That goal he scored against Lens was nice. And just curious what you're seeing from him, and if you think he's earned some more playing time amongst the world-class players, Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi.
Yeah, I think the squad rotation is going to have to happen, and I definitely think he should get more minutes. I mean, you don't want to think, 2 goals, that could be, kind of standalone, isolated cases, but I feel like he is starting to figure it out. His positioning is getting a lot better. I feel like he is becoming a bit of a poacher, which is good, cleaning up loose balls, like in the match against Châteauroux the other day. He nearly, that, I think it was the one that put us up 2-1, that I forget who buried that, but Ekitike, he ran in the box, had a good strong header. If it wasn't right at the keeper, that would have been an emphatic headed goal. And I think maybe Soler was the one on the rebound, can't remember, but
Soler in the 78th minute, yeah.
But Ekitike could have had a brace. Of course, it's just Châteauroux. They're in the Championnat National, the third division. But it was promising. But the one against Lens as well, I'm actually spacing how he scored that right now.
It was like his first touch was amazing, and then he got another touch and was able to bury it. You mentioned his positioning. He was right where he needed to be. Yeah. It was a beautiful goal.
I remember now. Yeah, it was a nice 1-2 with, it might have been with Garby. I can't remember who assisted, but yeah, I remember now. It was a nice 1-2, and I think he's definitely earning it. Like I said, we're gonna have to rotate the squad. Against teams like, I'm just looking at the teams coming up: Angers, Montpellier, Toulouse, Nantes. I know Nantes have been in bad form this year. He needs to get minutes against those guys, solely because we can't be playing M&M every single match, for the rest of the season. They can't be playing 2 matches a week until June. So I think he's earned it. He's probably figuring it out. Obviously, we're not out there at the Camp de Loge on the training pitch with him, but it looks like he's figuring it out. And I do like that he's a good aerial presence. We don't have the best, we're not a great crossing team, but if, Bernat's not a bad crosser, although I know people have been criticizing him lately, but if he is good at one thing, I'd say he's a very good attacking wingback. And I think he's the kind of guy that could assist Ekitike a lot, sending in those crosses. And I hope he's an interesting player. We haven't had a player with his exact skill set at the club in a little while, and I think it could be a nice change. I think variety is good. I would say one of the things that I think has hurt us in the past is we sign players, and even if we have depth, which we haven't often had depth, but when we do, the player that's subbed on for the guy that comes off is a very similar player to the guy that he just replaced, and the opposition doesn't need to change a lot to kind of snuff that out and just kind of neutralize him. So I would say he's a good piece. I guess that was kind of an elaborate explanation, but that's my take on him.
No, you're fine. I'm watching the goal against Lens. So it was Mukiele who saved the ball from going out, and then Ekitike just kind of almost kicked the ball out of the Lens goalkeeper's hand, and then with his right foot just was able to get to it before any of the defenders and finish it off there. So it was a fantastic goal, just taking the ball right out of the goalkeeper's hands there. And then also to your point, I saw that Le Parisien, it was translated by our good friends PSG Hub, but PSG are not planning to sign a midfielder. Warren Zaire-Emery is a solid player, and they intend to offer him even more playing time. So Gaultier, we know that he likes to play the younger players out there and his whole background, and so he's giving Ekitike and apparently Zaire-Emery chances. And we saw against Châteauroux, which just looking at that starting lineup, you had some, Bichiabu, who unfortunately had an own goal in that one, I believe. Or maybe not. Yeah, I don't know how it was officially scored, but yeah, but he was out there, and Zaire-Emery was there, and Garby is a fantastic player, and of course Ekitike was there. So any thoughts on, you mentioned it's a third tier French team, so not going to get too excited, but the youngsters didn't embarrass themselves. They looked like they were supposed to be out there and saw plenty of quality there. But any overall thoughts on that one? That was the most recent match.
Yeah, Warren Zaire-Emery is, I'm super high on him. I think he's going to be really good. I feel like at the last couple of years, supporters, we've always had some midfielder to be really excited about. Last year was Simons before he left for PSV. Right now, it's obviously Warren Zaire-Emery. Although there was hype about him last year and the year before that. But I think he did well. I think other than the own goal, or like we said, we don't know officially how it was counted, but Bichiabu basically had an own goal on that there in the first half. But other than that, Bichiabu didn't do bad. He's a great, I think he's something like 6'6" or something. So huge aerial presence. Yeah. With him and Marquinhos, which, like you said, Marquinhos he's smaller, but he's also very good in the air. If those two are ever in a starting lineup together, playing side by side, I would hope that we don't allow a headed goal in that game, because I won't know. I'm not going to know how it gets past him. So, but yeah, Bichiabu honestly did solid. I know he had to cover for Juan Bernat a couple times, just because, like I said earlier, Bernat is such an attack-focused wingback, and Bichiabu had to kind of cover his tracks and almost move out to the wing at times. But yeah, he was good. Ilyas Husni almost scored there at the very end of the cup match the other day, and I wanted him to bury that. That would have been so fun. But he only got a couple minutes, but that good chance, I just wish he had buried it. But I know he scored on that bit of play anyway. But the one guy that didn't get any playing time, Eamon Kari, I believe that's how you say his first name and last name. I could be, I've never heard it out loud, but I think it's they say he didn't get any playing time, I don't think, which I was bummed. But out of the 4 or 5 or 6 promising guys coming up through the youth academy, 4 of them got minutes that game. So I think real good sign for the club.
Yeah, excited about that. And Ilyas Husni is definitely a player a lot of people are high on. Signed his first pro contract with PSG, about a week or so ago. So, PSG not only signing these guys, but playing them. So maybe the days of them leaving to go to the Bundesliga, any of those kind of mid-tier German clubs or Leipzig or whatever, maybe hopefully those days are over. We can keep these guys, get them some playing time, and see what they turn into. Maybe they're first teamers. Maybe we sell them for a ton. But it's better than just letting them walk, for free and then kind of blow up elsewhere. So glad to see these guys getting some run again. It was just Châteauroux in the Coupe de France, but love to see it. Love to see these youngsters get out there. So that was fun. Let's talk. We haven't talked too much about Messi, but when do we think we'll see him play? I'm not sure if there's been any official word, but if not, do you have a guess of when we'll see Messi come out and suit up for PSG and start?
As far as, I think we all probably saw on social media that he got back to Paris just a couple days ago. Everyone gave him the guard of honor out on the training pitch, but I'm not sure if the days are kind of flying by. The match against Angers is pretty soon. It's just a couple days away.
Wednesday, I believe.
It's on Wednesday. Yeah, I don't think he'll play that. He'll probably start against Rennes, though, I would imagine, or probably start and get 60, 70 minutes. That'd be my guess. Because then I know, The Coupe de France draw for the round of 32, I think it's round of 32, wherever we're at in it. It is tomorrow, and our match, I believe, is going to be on the 22nd. So if he plays against Rennes, then he'll have, which we're going to talk about in a bit, have that really random, probable friendly out in Saudi Arabia. But he could play against Rennes and then maybe play in that cup match if it's a Liga opponent or Ligue 2 opponent. But yeah, probably the 15th. Probably not later than that. I think he probably wants to get back to it.
I'm a little worried about bringing him first match back since the World Cup away at Rennes. We always know they just give us all kinds of trouble. I could see PSG definitely losing that one. I would almost wonder if you bring him back at either that friendly, which we'll talk about in a minute, or a home match, maybe on the January 29th against Stade Reims. So it'll be interesting. But real quick, you mentioned the guard of honor. Mbappé was missing. The Mbappé we all know, but his brother, Ethan, right? Ethan Mbappé.
Yep.
He was there, and he kind of got caught by the cameras sort of glaring at Messi as he came through, and we know that Kylian Mbappé wasn't there. So, and this is all stupid, but anything to read into there? I mean, do you think there's some bad blood between the Mbappés and Messi?
No, I doubt it. Yeah, that was funny. As soon as I saw that, and I think Bleacher Report, BR Football posted that, and I was just thinking in my head, oh great, there's the tabloid of the week for him. So I hope they have fun with that. But yeah, I'm sure he doesn't. I mean, in his defense, is he supposed to be super happy that he just watched his brother lose the World Cup final? I'm sure he'll be a professional about it. I mean, he's also a guy to look out for in the future. I bet he'll get first team minutes in the next season or two, probably next season. But no, I wouldn't look into it at all. I mean, yeah, he's not thrilled that his country and his brother failed to win the World Cup. Sue him. What are you supposed to do? And he's looking at the guy that basically single-handedly deprived them of that. So. Yeah, I don't think there's a professional, I don't know how to say this, but there's probably a professional, not disdain, but disliking right now, just thinking, yeah, that guy got one over us. But like I said, I'm sure he's not, immature about this, and he knows that's just how football works. But no, I wouldn't look into it. It was fun for the media, though. I knew they'd really sink their jaws into that one.
I think if it was Neymar who won, I think there would be some real animosity there. But the fact that it was Messi, I mean, everyone loves Messi. It's hard to not like him. He is probably the best footballer that's ever put on boots, and he's at the end of his career. He finally won a World Cup. Like, it's hard to get angry at that. He's been working for years and years, decades, trying to get to that point. He finally did it, so it's kind of like you tip your cap. Okay, you finally won. You can't get too upset. But I do think if it was Neymar who had won that, I think Mbappe would be a little bit more fired up about that one. So anyway, but yeah, that was the fun tabloid, PSG tabloid of the week. So thought we'd have a little fun there and talk about that one. But Ethan, we are in January. We're January 7th. We are recording this. So the transfer window is officially open. As always, PSG mentioned in the rumor mill, mostly to inflate wages and transfer fees for other players and teams. But there is some news. I saw, Keylor Navas could be on the move potentially. Manu Kone of Mönchengladbach. PSG, I think Fabrizio Romano had reported PSG is in contact with him among some other clubs. Overall, I mean, how much business do you expect PSG to do in January? Are there any names out there that you think, oh, PSG, if that guy's available, have to go for him? Just anything there on the transfer rumor mill circuit that got you kind of your ears perked up there?
I would say maybe the one thing is, and who knows if this is even true, but Milan Skriniar, apparently contract extensions and negotiations are getting rough with Inter. So if that collapses, I think I saw some random report, who even knows how valid it is, but said something about if they don't have a deal or, essentially have a deal done by January 20th, then they might look to sell him just to make a little bit of money. I don't know how true that is, but obviously I think he would be a really good, obviously a good addition for us. But I tweet about this a lot that's where I'm most active, as you know, and as most people listening probably know. But financial fair play has been kind of on us for a while. I know people kind of joke, oh, PSG can just defeat financial fair play. We are the most penalized club in FFP history. So, we've paid more fines than any other club has. That is what I'm saying, due to, paying over that threshold that UEFA deems acceptable. I would be very surprised if we spent more than 25 mil this January. I don't think we'll buy anyone, but if we do, I would be very shocked if we spend more than 25 mil. And I guess I'm saying that as a net spend. So if we sell, I know Sarabia might want to leave. If we sell Sarabia for 10, 15 mil, whatever he's worth, then maybe we shell out, 30 or 30 probably too much at this point for Skriniar, but maybe 2 players. I would be pretty surprised if it was over 20 mil net spend, just because FFP is kind of on us. We shouldn't be spending money. People say that we have, other people say we have unlimited pockets, but we really don't. And I think it's good that I used to kind of be against FFP, but personally, I think it's pretty good for the sport as long as it's implemented right, which obviously that's the kicker. I'm not sure if the current system is super great. I'm not an expert at it, but I don't see us having I don't think UEFA is going to let us pay that much for anyone this winter. And if we do, then, we're not trying to get, because the fines just get larger as you, so I think we had to pay 10 mil this last time, and I think next time we're going to be threatened with 25 mil if we break it. So, I mean, imagine if we did that and broke it, we're essentially paying double the transfer fee for whoever we might buy, and that's just not worth it. So I don't see us doing any. I think maybe Nasser or Campos said this, but something like we got to sell someone to buy someone. Mm-hmm. And I believe him in that. I think they said that this last week. I don't think we're going to buy anyone if no one at all leaves for a transfer fee, not for a loan. Yeah, we're going to need to make money off of a sale in order to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, Keylor Navas could go, but I kind of like having him there as an insurance policy on Donnarumma. I just look at the squad. I don't love all of our midfielders, but I guess midfielders can be expensive, and I think we're probably can get by with who we have, barring, hopefully no catastrophic injuries. It's just our center backs. Kimpembe, he missed the World Cup due to injury. We've talked about Marquinhos earlier. Old man Sergio Ramos. Hopefully he's not listening to this, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't love our center backs. I love our full backs, but I think if you can get Skriniar, I don't know. Maybe could you do a loan with the option to buy in the summer and try to kick that can down the street before you have to write the big check? I don't know. Could you get creative? Could you do some kind of swap deal with Inter? I think if you can get creative, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I don't think, just because his contract ends in 6 months, I don't think a loan is possible. We're going to either buy him or try and get him in the summer if he's a free agent. That is, if he doesn't extend with Inter, which who knows? I guess we'll find out. But yeah, it's so weird how we'll go between feeling really good about a center back or two, and then a month later it's like, man, they've been really out of form for the last couple matches, and I just don't think. And a lot of our like you kind of touched on a second ago. Some of our midfielders have been pretty disappointing. Obviously, Renato Sanchez has been, a bit disappointing, and a lot of people are kind of down on Carlos Soler. I think he's a really good attacking not an attacking midfielder, but he's a midfielder with these late runs into the attack. And I feel like when games get chaotic, he's a good player to have, as everyone will be focusing on what Eminem are doing, and then Soler comes out of nowhere and bags a goal. He's a good poacher when he needs to be. So I think all the guys have potential though. Maybe they're not super diverse. Ronaldo's not the best passer, but he's a very good dribbler. Like I just touched on Soler's strengths. Fabian Ruiz, I feel like I haven't honestly had a bunch of opportunities to watch him. He hasn't got a bunch of minutes, but I feel like he's kind of solid all around. I don't feel like he has any massive strength or weakness, but yeah, I think it's just tough to say. I hope we're playing our best football when February rolls around, but that is in just a month, and I guess we will see. I think we're going to have to stick with who we got right now.
Yeah. You mentioned Soler. Eduardo Razo, who writes for PSGTalk.com, has got a piece on apparently Atletico Madrid are interested in him. So unlikely. I mean, he just came in. I don't know if we would sell our loan, but you never know. He wants more playing time. Maybe he could be included in a deal for João Felix, potentially. I know that Felix wants out. So could we do something there? Throw in Soler, lower that transfer fee, or hopefully maybe they pay João Felix's wages. I don't know. Something could be done there creatively. But any thoughts on maybe João Felix coming in and we just go all in on just scoring 20 goals a game?
Gosh, I would. Oh man, I don't think that would be a wise move to go all in on attack. But João Felix, I think, would be a really nice fit. To honestly take over in attack as Neymar. Neymar's still in his prime, I would say, but Messi's getting old. Yeah. He's 35 or so. But the one issue I have with the João Felix deal is apparently Atletico Madrid want like 120 million or something for him.
Yeah.
We couldn't pay that this winter if we wanted. We might not be able to pay that next summer even if we wanted. So I'm not sure they're going to get anyone paying 120 for him, especially how out of form he's been. If he was lighting it up like he was a couple years ago, then yeah, I think a Premier League team would probably bite on that. But it's like if right now we tried to tell someone that they had to pay, 70 mil for Renato Sanchez. Like no one's going to do that. That's an extreme overevaluation of his price. So yeah, not at that price. But maybe if he forces his hand and says, "Look, I'm getting out of here, or I'm not going to play," maybe they'll be forced to deal him away for a lot less. That would be. Then maybe we'd have a chance.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's unlikely. I think Arsenal's linked with him as well. So we'll have to see if that is a deal that can be done. I think your points are well taken that probably not going to see a ton of players coming in January, maybe one, but I could certainly see a couple players go out on loan, maybe a sale, but I just don't see the squad, unfortunately, changing too much. January is always difficult. Players are overvalued, as you just mentioned with João Felix. So I'd be surprised if anything is done. I always, maybe January is where we shop local and we find an under the radar Ligue 1 defender that we think could come in and, do a job for us, maybe backing up Marquinhos or Sergio Ramos. Again, as an insurance policy, just have someone there. But we have Bitsiabu, who we just talked about, played well than that one mistake, but tons of quality. I don't know if we could play him in the Champions League, but could he fill in League on duty while we give another player a break, Sergio Ramos, for example? So maybe this is where, we just got to tap into that youth and get us through the season and see how things play out. With Mbappé playing the way that he is, maybe we don't even really need a defense. He'll just keep scoring goals and we'll be all good. So, but looking ahead, Ethan, PSG's next fixtures against Angers, as we mentioned, on January 11th. At the Parc, and then an always difficult test away at Rennes. But annoyingly, I'll say, PSG will play a friendly against a Saudi all-star team. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but that game's going to be on January 19th. The headline here is that Cristiano Ronaldo could be playing Messi. Ronaldo just moved to Al Nassr, I think, in the Saudi Arabian team. So if Messi's back and plays, it could be Ronaldo versus Messi. That could be interesting. But what are your thoughts on this game? It's right in the middle of PSG getting back into the swing of things after the World Cup. They've got to fly to Saudi Arabia, then fly back. A lot of fixtures coming up. Bayern's on the horizon. I don't love it. What do you say?
No, I think that a neutral fan, someone who isn't, a supporter of the club, they'll probably love it. Oh, one last, Messi Ronaldo matchup. But yeah, like you were saying, we play at Rennes on the 15th. Supposedly, this Saudi All-Star team will be playing a friendly on the 19th. So what we're gonna go to Rennes, get back, and then fly to Saudi Arabia the next day or 2 days later. And then right after that, I know our Coupe de France match, our next one, the draw is tomorrow on the 8th. The match will likely be on January 22nd. So we're going to have 3 days from that friendly to a Coupe de France match, which who knows who we're going to draw. We could draw a team from the 5th division. We could draw Marseille. I do not love the timing of this. Maybe they should have done this as this would have been a great idea to do for a preseason friendly. So play this in July, mid-July. It'd be really hot there, but they'd manage. They could just do water breaks. But this would be such a fun thing for non-PSG fans in the preseason. But this is just awful timing, in my opinion. Yeah, do you have any specific thoughts on it, or that's kind of just my take on it?
I just think it's stupid, especially coming off the World Cup in Qatar. You just had this mid-season break. What is the point of this? Are you getting paid? I mean, PSG don't really need the money. It's also like Saudi Arabia, and PSG is owned by QSI, Qatar, so it's like that's weird from like a geopolitical stance. Like, I just don't understand anything about this. I don't know why it was signed off on. Maybe we'll see down the road something will come PSG's way, but I don't see how PSG wins in this at all. It's just the jet lag and everything else. It's like, why put your players through this? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's weird that, you mentioned geopolitical. I think this might be we know, if you don't know the sport, the term sports washing, just look it up on Google. But I'm sure Saudi Arabia and Qatar are both guilty of that. But I think this could be sort of a sports washing / maybe this is a random little thing to try and mend a bit of a bond between the two countries. Say, hey, we're willing to basically take our club owned by QSI, take them to Saudi Arabia, and it'll be a fun little thing for both countries to get a little bit of press out of it. And I'm sure we're making a lot of money. I'm sure they're paying the club a lot, but yeah, like you said, we don't need it. I think, as far as financially, once we signed Messi, we sold probably enough jerseys to where we shouldn't have to schedule silly little friendlies like this, at least at this part of the year. But yeah, it's a weird thing overall. Just do this in July. Don't do this in January.
And and moving off that, throw a little curveball because this topic just came to mind for some reason, and I wanted to get your thoughts, and maybe some of our listeners are curious about this as well. But we talked about the Coupe de France and the match against Châteauroux, but a lot of people were like, where can I watch this game? Where is it? And there's been a lot of back and forth about who in the United States is going to have the Coupe de France rights. So who will be the broadcaster for this? And I'm looking on worldsoccertalk.com. And they reported that it is now Fox Sports. So they signed a deal. Let's see here. This time, Fox Sports have acquired Coupe de France rights in the United States to bring French Cup games to viewers. It's weird just because beIN Sports used to have it, and of course they broadcast Ligue 1, but the French Cup is going to be on Fox Sports. So did you have any trouble finding the game? Do you have any thoughts on this? I saw someone tweeted at World Soccer Talk and asked them if it meant Fox Sports may get the Ligue 1 rights, and they replied unlikely. So we're just going to have this like division where the games are on two different networks here in the United States. But good thing, bad thing? Any thoughts overall in the current broadcasting situation in the United States?
I honestly don't know a lot about it, but it was easy for me to find. It's on the Fox Soccer Plus channel, which I've just got YouTube TV, and I was able to find it pretty easily there. I've been able to watch all the Coupe de France matches. That's how I was, able to give you a bit of an update on how the Marseille match went and other matches. So, no, it's Yeah, it's on Fox Soccer Plus. If you've got YouTube TV, you should be able to get it real easily. But outside of that, yeah, it is definitely weird that they've got the cup rights somewhere else. But I know the Premier League's like this as well. I think the FA Cup is mostly on ESPN Plus, which is separate from who are they with, CBS or something like that. So it's a weird kind of thing where it's not on the same channel, but we are not the only league that has this issue. So um, yeah, I guess that's not a lot to say on it, honestly. But if you've got YouTube TV, then you're covered. But other than that, I honestly don't know how you're going to get that channel. It seems I had honestly never heard of it. Everyone knows Fox Sports, but Fox Soccer Plus, I'm looking at that thinking like, I don't even, and the article you just read off, I don't know when that deal was made.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, I don't think any of us had heard of beIN Sports until they took over Liga rights. So, yeah, we've just got the weirdest channels broadcasting all French matches in the U.S.
And what's strange, because I was reading the comments there on World Soccer Talk. For me, the Châteauroux match was still on beIN, but it was on like beIN Sports Connect 4, their fourth streaming channel that they have. So it wasn't even on any Fox Soccer Plus or anything like that. And someone else had commented that they've got it there too. And tomorrow's Marseille match is on beIN Sports Connect 5. So there's like this weird overlay. So if you have Fubo and you don't get the Fox channels, check your beIN Sports Connects to see when you can watch the Coupe de France. But it's a mess, to be honest. The whole thing is a mess. I wish that like ESPN or Paramount Plus or someone would just come in and buy it all, but it's unlikely with beIN Sports being led by Nasser, who is also the head of PSG. It's like it's going to just stay there. We're just going to have to suffer.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
That's pretty much the way it is. So it is not easy watching PSG or cheap. These channels are not cheap, but we love the team, so we'll subscribe and all that. So, but anyway, again, looking ahead, PSG close out January at home against Stade de Reims, and then it's 3 matches in February for the clash against Bayern on February 14th. Ethan, last question for you. Have you been watching much of Bayern, or are you going to save it as we get a little bit closer?
I watch a fair amount of Bayern. My brother is not a huge football guy, but during the COVID pandemic in 2020, I kind of got him into football a little bit, and he likes Bayern. And I don't blame him. If I was German American, I'd definitely probably support Bayern. And they're a great, well-run club. I got a bunch of respect for them. Probably, to me, they're probably the best-run club in the world for me. Maybe, yeah, I mean them and Real Madrid obviously, but I've just always really respected Bayern. But I watch them a fair amount. They've had a couple matches similar to the Lens one, like kind of like our Lens loss earlier this week, where they're just losing to a random club. I also watch Stuttgart every once in a while, and I know, maybe I'm mistaken it, but I'm pretty sure Stuttgart had a 95th minute equalizer in the fall to draw with Bayern. And I'm just thinking like Stuttgart's a solid side, very attack heavy, but those are teams that they should be beating. Obviously you don't have to be in your best form titles are not won in September or October, but Bayern's definitely beatable. I think I predicted back when the draw came out, I think we'll handle them, especially they're really injury ridden right now. Mazraoui, I think that's how you say it, is out. He'll probably miss that. Neuer's out. A couple guys, but
Hernandez, right? He was injured in the World Cup.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he tore his ACL right in the first 5 minutes. Yeah, they're a good side, but I'm actually pretty excited. I will be at that match in Paris on the 14th. It'll be my first ever Champions League match. That I've seen at PSG. So I'm sure the atmosphere will be much crazier than the Liga matches I've been to in the past. And I haven't been back there a while, so I'm pretty excited. And I'm getting there the day of the game. That was the only time I could fly in. So, just know I will be in the stadium extremely tired when you watch it. So, just think of me, pray for me that I can keep my eyes open after being awake for basically 30 hours straight.
Well, we will definitely do a podcast when you get back and settled and hear all about your experience there and how the match was. Hopefully it's a win. I've been just going back to Bayern. Yeah, definitely good run, well-run club and all of that. I do get a little tired. Sometimes the Bundesliga can get a little bit, they're like the rule about how the fans have to own the club and Qatar this and that. And it's like Bayern has Qatar Airways like on their sleeve. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes they get a little full of themselves when I don't think they're any better than any other league or any other team that's out there in Europe, to be honest with you. But they definitely portray that like we're better. Our teams are much better than everyone else because we do it the right way,
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's a neat thing that it is publicly owned. Yeah, deep down,
Except for Leipzig. Leipzig, I don't believe is.
True. Well, technically they are, but yeah, there's that loophole. Same with Hoffenheim and actually Wolfsburg too, but they're an exception because they were a Volkswagen. They were basically the amateur club team of Volkswagen employees back in the day. But other than those exceptions, I think in a perfect world, it would be nice if every club was run like how the Bundesliga requires their clubs to be run, being publicly owned. But I would agree they are a bit high and mighty on themselves. But the funny thing is that I see so many people claim that, and maybe this is just bias, but they claim that Bundesliga defenses aren't as bad as you think they are. But I'm never impressed with Bundesliga defenses. I think the reason that Bayern lost to Villarreal last year was because they do not know how to play against the low block. I think I'd mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but although I will say I will definitely take a Serie A or Bundesliga Champions League winner over a Spanish or English winner every day of the week. So I'm always hoping the final is, if it's not us, I'm hoping it's another French club, barring, not Marseille, or an Italian or German club. But I kind of get what you're saying there.
Yeah. And Bayern currently holds a 4-point lead over Freiburg, the vaunted Freiburg team there in second place. So just like PSG, slim lead at the top. So these one-team leagues, it's closer than you might expect. So hopefully we'll have a fun end of the season across Europe in the top leagues there. So that'll be interesting. We'll keep an eye on Bayern as we get closer to that match. All right, Ethan, let's go ahead and get out of here. Let everyone know how they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, on Twitter, I am at PSG_Boise.
Fantastic. And you can always follow me at PSG Talk. And don't forget to check out psgtalk.com. I mentioned Eduardo Razzo's out there. Steven's out there writing, churning out the articles. It's the transfer window is open. So definitely got all of your PSG Mercado news and updates there at psgtalk.com. So thanks for checking that out. And thanks for listening and subscribing to this show. We always appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.